It is the first day of trading after the halving for our favorite Bitcoin miners. Let's have a look, see at what they are doing today. I would also like to update you on two of the plays I brought to the channel before. That would be PLTR and SOFI, so stick around to the end if you want to hear a little update on those plays as well. So let's start with Bitcoin here. So it is now Monday morning. Bitcoin is kind of just charging up in this ascending channel here. Now, if you remember what I've said about ascending channels on multiple occasions, they tend to break to the downside, just like descending channels tend to break to the upside. And currently we are in an ascending channel. Now it could break to the downside, but as long as it stays above that $60,000 level, we could end up making a double bottom here and coming up further from there. So that's just a little bit of a bear case there. Now, sometimes, especially with assets like Bitcoin, you do see the opposite occur, where that ascending channel just breaks even harder to the upward. It could totally happen. It hasn't in a while on the Bitcoin chart here. You can just see it even from back here. This, I guess, was a bit of an ascending channel, tiny bit of one. It looks more like a flag than an ascending channel, but that broke up. But then we keep seeing these up and down kind of trends going on. On Bitcoin, kind of just vacillating around. Right now, though, we are seeing since the halving, we have been moving up. How much have we moved up since the halving? So this was the halving day right here. This is where it ended. And since halving, we have moved up 3%. If we include this wick, we went up almost 4% since the halving, but currently we're at that 3% level since the halving. We're sitting around 65,795. What are the Bitcoin miners doing? But first, let's look at the Bitcoin fees. So this is something I'm going to start working into pretty much every single video going forward. We're just going to check in on the fees because these fees are actually going to have a big impact on the Bitcoin miners and their valuations here going forward. So you can see here in the fees, high priority is going for about $17, medium $15, low priority $13.63, and no priority is $2. Now, that's pretty low. That's actually lower than the last time we looked at this and significantly lower than halving day. Halving day, it was like 250 bucks almost at one point. And then we looked at it over the weekend and it was like in the mid 20s, and now we're below 20. So it has decreased significantly. That's not great for us in terms of our mining stocks this month, but perhaps it'll get higher. We'll see. We'll see. We'll keep our eye on this thing right here and come and check in every once in a while. So let's have a look at CleanSpark. CleanSpark so badly wanted to get that $18 this morning and couldn't quite hold it. We're down minus 0.12% today. We're hanging out right on the confluence of the 20 and 15-day EMAs here, or SMAs, excuse me, SMAs, the 5-day SMAs all the way down at 15.95. I don't know if we'll come in contact with that. I mean, maybe we'll get a confluence of all three of these things and then it'll launch from there. I don't know, but we'll see. This could end up being a bull flag, or it could end up being a reversal, taking us back down to $15 again. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but we did get right up to the middle of this descending channel here and then start coming back down a bit. We haven't quite gotten oversold on or overbought on the daily or anything on CleanSpark, so this doesn't look too bad, especially since we're like barely down. Now we're up 0.5%, so like it's kind of just chilling here above that candle from Friday. Let's take a look at what the weekly looks like. Let's see how this weekly candle is forming. Yeah, basically as long as we're above $17.18, as long as we're above $17.18, it's pretty bullish on the weekly candle. And if we get up and above 18 this week, I'm looking at the mid 20s going into May here, possibly. We'll see though, maybe sell in May and go away. We'll come back again this year. That is a seasonality thing. So it's not like written in stone or anything. It's just if it starts to happen, you're like, oh, well, it's that time of year again. And if it doesn't happen, we're like, oh, hey, it's breaking that, that generally thought of cyclical sort of action. So that's all. Like if you look at the semiconductors this year in April, they are playing perfectly to that cyclical April action. Like every semiconductor stock is just absolutely tanking. And then in May, in fact, in May, we should be seeing those coming back up again. And I'll talk about that in a future videos when I'm featuring something like NVIDIA or ARM on the video. I'll talk about that seasonality where May comes into play for the semiconductors and how that's just going to be pretty much probably a rip, honestly. Let's take a look at Riot. Riot's actually doing something. It's actually doing a thing. We got that, so we had that gap up, and it looks like gap up and what go, gap up and go is what we're looking at here. I mean, ooh, that is good. Let's look at the weekly. Let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah, we're signaling that hammer candle coming in real bullish this morning, being up 7%, while CleanSpark is only up 0.5%. That's pretty sweet. Actually, I like that quite a lot. That's giving me a little bit of faith and what's going on with Riot now, especially with that Corsica infrastructure. That seems like that was the thing it needed to make a move. Let's see that continuation come on with the continuation. Make this candle green today. Take us back up into the teens. My calls need it. Anyways, we'll go and check on Mara here now and see how that's looking. Mara also got a little bit of a gap up. It did close it though. We are up 2% on Mara, so not nearly as much as on Riot. We are outside of this aggressive descending channel now though, and we're holding above it. So that's actually really positive on what we're seeing from Mara. Remember, earnings for Mara, earnings for all of them are coming up soon. Earnings for Mara aren't out until May. So we'll have the production numbers for April as well as Q1 earnings coming in on that day. Or no, I mean, it won't be the same day coming out that information, but like we'll have both of those pieces of information that day. That's all I'm trying to say. But we are seeing this turnaround here. We have this like flat doji here right at 1454, right on my line, honestly. It's hung out on that for 3 days, and then it came up, broke out of this descending channel. Now we're eyeing up this becoming a bull flag and then taking us all the way back up to about $20. That's what I really want to see on Mara with this particular play here. In fact, I should be looking at my calls and see how well those are doing or not this morning. Uh, let's take a look at BTBT, Bit Digital. Bit Digital is doing up, it's minus 0.5%. So it's just kind of hanging out beneath this megaphone line that I've drawn, this green one. We're right on the center of a descending channel. It is making what I would say the characteristics of a bull flag. If we can get up and above this descending green line here, which is the bottom of that megaphone I pointed out quite a while ago, if we can get above that, we'll have a shot at coming up to and breaking out of this descending channel here and taking us back into that 220, 230 range on Bit Digital. So I'm not too hung up on this right now. I'm not too concerned. Earnings for this one are actually on this Thursday for Bit Digital. That'll tell us a lot. I think we might, if this turns out, if this continues to flag throughout the week, I would be expecting that earnings would be a pretty big catalyst on Thursday, sending us significantly higher on Bit Digital, unless something is broken inside of Bit Digital. But I don't think that's the case. I think we're probably going to get a decent earnings. We're going to see this thing jump up pretty nice. That's my expectation going into Thursday for Bit Digital. Let's take a look at Bit Farms. How are they doing? They are up 1.5%. So 1.5%. We're continuing on. Clinging to the top side of my ascending channel here. We just, wow, look at how that happened. So this morning's wick opened up right at the top of this descending channel as well. Like it's trying to decide, does it want to come into this channel or just continue ripping on up inside of this channel here? Let's see how that plays out. I'll leave that on the chart and see how it works out. I just randomly placed that. I did not expect it to just like perfectly tap it almost and stay right inside of it. That was not planned. I did not think that would happen that perfectly. I really hope it doesn't get into this descending channel here. I just put it there as a like, okay, let's see if after we get this leg down followed by a V-shaped leg up, let's see if it just does another leg down or not. I really hope not. But I do think that we need to see that CEO search come to an end. And I think once that comes to an end, we'll start seeing some greater positivity on the Bit Farms up front here. Let's take a look at their weekly real quick. I know I didn't look at Bit Digital's weekly, but that's okay. We'll take a look at their weekly real quick. It is still above last week's. It just needs to stay above 193 to remain kind of bullish here on this one. All right, the other two plays that we got here are Palantir and SoFi. Let's take a look at those as well here. So Palantir, I do think that's still going to come and collide with that $20 level there. I do think it really just wants to magnetize down to that thing before breaking out of this aggressive descending channel and moving back up again. I'm currently just holding shares. I've got a few hundred shares of these. I did have some covered calls that I'd sold on those shares. I got out of those as the price came down. I probably could have held and got 100%, but I got like 60, 70% on them. So I'm not too upset about that. I'm waiting for it to swing back up to like the $22, $23 level before I start selling more of those on there so I can get better premium on that. What else is going on with Palantir? Oh, also, of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Got to slip that in there all the time. Disclaimer. Let's take a look here on the weekly. The weekly last week was pretty terrible. This week is just kind of fiddling around near the bottom of that. Hopefully it starts to move back up a tiny bit on there on Palantir. But I do think that it is still likely to make a collision course with that $20 level before we see any kind of reversal on this thing. Hopefully we don't enter into the gap here. If we enter this gap, we could likely come down to as low as 1781 on Palantir before making a reversal back up, where we would encounter resistance at 20, and then again at 21, and then again at 22, and then again at basically every dollar on the way up. We'll be encountering resistance pretty much on the way back when we start making that structure on the way back up. Let's take a look at SoFi. So let's take a look at SoFi. It has been on this descending channel here for a little while. It actually, I believe, has broken out of that channel now. It has. It is out of that aggressive descent. That thing's real tight. It is outside of it, and it's kind of just hanging out near the bottom. I think it's waiting for earnings. Earnings is on Monday, next Monday. So one more week. I think we get a week of just like sideways action, and then earnings, I think we see a bit of a pop-up. And the reason I'm starting to think that on SoFi is because if we come and look at the short interest here on MarketBeat, if you remember this in the last video, this is 10% less than it was. It was at 28%, or I think it was at 28 or very close to 28% last time we looked at the short interest. It has dropped dramatically, meaning the shorts are covering. Meaning, I think that a good amount of the shorts, at least, a third of them, did not want to see what happens on Monday, April 24th, pre-market, and see if all their shorts got completely wiped out. So let's keep an eye on that. Also, the other thing that's going on with SoFi is if we come over here and we turn on my indicator, give it a second to warm up, there it is, and we look here, we are currently in a squeeze. We're in a squeeze going right into earnings. I think this squeeze might let up once we get to earnings. I think this squeeze is going to release and we're going to get a move up. I think that was also on Palantir. Hold on, Palantir. That was also a thing on Palantir. Yeah, it was. So if we come back here, same indicator, you can see up here the little yellow plus signs. We had a squeeze going from December 29th all the way until February 5th, right when we had earnings, right on earnings. And then the day after earnings, the squeeze was over and it popped up big time. Look what's happening again on Palantir. We had that squeeze. It ended a few days ago, and then we got earnings coming up again. I think we might see a move up on earnings here with the API and all that stuff coming out and them championing new products and again, getting new customers and doing all these boot camps. I think earnings might actually be pretty decent for Palantir this quarter. And then we'll see probably a turnaround around that $20 level. Maybe it'll come down and tap like 1850 maybe before earnings, and then after earnings I think we'll get back into this ascending channel and start chugging our way on back up again, just like last time. Actually, pretty much every time we have earnings here, look at this. This was the earnings, Q4 earnings that came out this was Q3 November 2nd. They had another big gap up on that day here on November 2nd. Let's see, where was the other ones? This earnings they missed, and they really didn't get punished too bad. No, they did. They got punished pretty bad. Anytime earnings is green, like look, big gap up. Anytime earnings is green, big gap up. Anytime earnings is bad, we get 2-3 days of selling. But anytime it's green, we get just a launch. So I'm expecting probably some decent earnings here, Q1 for Palantir. And then if it does come out that way, big gap up is what I'd be looking for on Palantir. And that would make me happy since I hold hundreds of shares of this thing. I would like to say that on SoFi, I haven't purchased anything yet. I am waiting. I am looking for, which day is this? Monday. So maybe Friday I might start looking at a play on this one for the earnings. That is a gamble. Playing earnings is a gamble. Like that is gambling. So it would be a small position. Of course, not financial advice, not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever, but that is the update. So what's going on the first day of trading for the Bitcoin miners after the halving, as well as an update on a couple of our plays outside of the Bitcoin miner stocks. So with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.